Now today we have another classic Norwegian folktale. Oh yes, and it is Boots and his brothers. And well, if you're not seeing the other two Boot stories, I will put a link at the end of this story for you. So, once upon a time, there was a farmer, and well, he did not have very much, but he had a small farm with some land. He had a few animals. On that land was a small wood, and he also had 3 sons. And our farmer, well, he was very poor, and he had very few silver pieces to his name, and he feared for his sons, for the farm was not making money, and they were not going out and having adventures. Well, at this same time, they heard of a story of their nearby king, who lived on a big hill, well, some leagues away from their farm, their long house. And they heard of this tale, that the king, well, he had a problem. First of all, just outside of his great big long house, the king's palace, there was a mighty oak tree, which no matter how many people tried to chop the tree down, the tree could not be felled, could not be hewed. And this concerned the king, because the tree grew bigger. And as anybody took a strike with the tree with their axe to the mighty trunk, for every piece they knocked off, the tree would grow twice as big in pieces of wood. And people kept on trying to chop the tree down. They'd take a few strikes, knock out a few chunks, and double the size of chunks would grow on that tree. And people came from far and wide, for soon this tale became very famous of the king and the tree. And this tree caused the king many problems, for it caused him a lot of shade. And his mighty great palace, his long house on the hill, well, it was always shady. And he also had another problem, did this king. For the king, he wanted a very deep well digging. And don't forget, for he lived on a big mountain, a big hill. And when people tried to dig down to make a well, after a few feet, they hit rock, solid stone. And no matter how many times they tried with a pickaxe, hammer, and all the many other tools they could think of, they could not dig a well. So the king put this decree to all the land, that if anybody could come and first of all chop down this tree, and secondly dig a well, which would last a whole year, with a whole year's worth of water, that they could come forth. And many tried and many failed. Well, at this time, our 3 sons of the farmer heard about this tale, and they decided, well, the older 2 decided that they was going to go forward and have a go at trying to chop down this tree. Well, they didn't want the younger of the 3 sons, who is Boots, of course, our hero of this folk tale of Boots and his brothers, of course. Well, he wanted to go too. So the 2 older brothers reluctantly said that he could go. And the father was happy, for he knew that they had a good chance at chopping down the tree, and a good chance at digging a well for the king. And even if they failed, they could still go on adventures and have a chance at wealth and fame. And as we know on this channel, a Viking, loves wealth and fame. So they set off, and they each have a leather bag. They had a sword, they had some wealth and weapons, and an axe, of course, and some bread and cheese. And they set off. Well, for some days they walked, and the king's palace was a few hundred leagues away, which would take a few days. And after a few days of walking, they came to this massive wood. And they could go round the wood, but that would take much longer. And they was very eager to get there. They wanted to go as fast as they could. So they decided to go through the wood. And it's only been a day or so. They've been walking, the three brothers. And well, they heard a kind of a hatchet noise. Hacking at a tree. But kept on repeating. Well, at first the two older brothers thought nothing of this, but Boots, our hero, well, he was very inquisitive, so he decided to climb up this small hill full of trees, and big trees at that, to go and find out the source. And when he got there, what do you think he found? I know what you're going to say. You're going to say he found an axe man chopping down the tree. Well, he did not. No. What he found an axe, alone, chopping in mid-air this tree. And Boots went up to this axe and he said, "Oh, good morning. Good morgen." And the axe turned around and said, "Oh, good morning, I've been waiting for you. I am now yours." And this is some kind of magical axe. Well, Boots couldn't believe it. He quickly grabbed the axe, he took the head off the shaft, and he put the shaft and the head in his leather bag. And he carried on down the hill to his two brothers. And the two brothers, his older brothers, said, "Oh, what did you find?" "Oh, nothing," he said, "just an old axe." And so they marched on, they carried on walking. And they found a place to camp, they slept the night. They had some bread and cheese, and some meat which they caught on the way. And the next day they set off in this wood again. Well, they'd been marching for a few hours, walking, and they heard again another very strange sound. It was a kind of a sound, not like this, but like somebody digging in the ground. The two older brothers, they again thought nothing of this. But Boots, our hero, well, he was very inquisitive again. So he decided, well, I'm going to take a look at this. And whatever was making this noise was very high up on this cliff face. So in two soulful, bangful leaps, Boots leapt up this cliff face. And what did he find at the top of this cliff? But a shovel, an old spade. Nobody there using it, just an old spade, digging by itself, digging and delving in the ground. And Boots went up to this spade and said, "Oh, good morning, good morgen." And well, the spade turned around and said, "Oh, good morning, I've been waiting for you. I am now yours." And Boots was very happy. He got hold of the spade, he took the spade head off the shaft, and he put that in his bag, and they used the shaft as a walking stick, as a staff. And he climbed back down this mountain to his two older brothers. Well, they said, "What did you find?" They said, "Well, just an old shovel, scraping along in the wind." Oh, the two brothers said. And they carried on marching, walking, and they made camp the next day next to this stream, a fresh water stream. And they slept the night. They had some bread and cheese in the morning. And in the morning, Boots thought to himself, "Well, I wonder where the source of this water comes from, for it tastes so fresh, so pure." And the two older brothers turned around and said, "Oh, you're silly, you are. Have you never heard of springs? The water gushes from the ground." Well, Boots, being very inquisitive, our hero, and you know, he decided yet again to go and look for the source of this water, leaving his two brothers behind, waiting for him. They sat down and waited while Boots went up the hill. He kept on following the water, and in the end he found this most amazing thing. Do you want to know what he found? I'm sure you do. What he found was a giant acorn. But this was no ordinary acorn. Oh no, 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 no. This acorn had a crack, and out the crack was pouring all this water. Well, Boots, being very clever, said good morning to this acorn, and it spoke back, "Good morning, I am now yours." And Boots quickly got some moss off the ground, and he plugged up the hole, the crack, and he put the acorn in his leather bag. And luckily his bag could hold water in case it leaked. And he walked back down the creek, which was now becoming dry, and he met his two brothers. And he said, "Well, did you find anything amazing?" I said, "Oh no, no, it's just an old spring." And they carried on walking. And eventually, after a few days of nothing more happening, they cleared the wood, and eventually they saw in the distance the king's palace, his great stately longhouse. And they could see the big tree, ginormous, and by far the biggest tree that they have ever known. Well, by this time, so many people had come to the king and tried to chop down this tree, and the tree had grown so big that the king put out a decree, an order, that if anybody tried and failed, they would be banished. In fact, they would have their ears chopped off, which was rather brutal, and placed on an island, banished from the kingdom. So not many people tried, and eventually our three brothers got there. And first of all, the oldest brother went. He tried with an axe to chop down the tree, but for every strike and for every chunk out of the tree, two more giant chunks of wood grew. And he failed. And then he tried to dig a well, but no matter how many times he smashed the rock with a hammer, he could not get nowhere. And in the end, the king banished him, and he had to put him in a cell, in a prison cell, whilst they waited to banish him off the land. And again, the middle brother, he had a go, and he tried in all his might to get rid of the tree. He even tried to burn the tree down, but the tree just put the flames out and carried on growing. And he also tried to dig a well, but again, he failed too. And eventually it was Boots' go, and the king, well, he grabbed Boots. He said, "Is it worth you trying? So you may as well just cut your ears off and banish yourself right now, lad." Oh, to this, Boots was not amused, and he went up, climbed up to the tree, and he got out his leather bag, the axe, and he put it together, and he told it to chop down this tree, and it did this within a few hours. And before you know it, this mighty tree crashed down, and luckily it did not smash the king's palace. And the next thing he did, he got the shovel. He was still carrying the staff, but the head was in his bag. So he got the head of the shovel out, attached it to the bag, and he told him to dig a hole deeper than any hole he's ever seen. And he dug this hole, did the spade, the magical spade. You don't hear many stories of magical spades. And the spade kept on digging, and eventually it stopped. And then he got the last thing out, did Boots, the acorn. And he climbed a little bit into the well, and he found a crevice in the top of it. and he put the acorn in and pulled out the moss, and before no time water was gushing out, and he said to the acorn, "Gush and flow and flow." And this is what the acorn did. It flowed so much it soon filled up the well. And Boots was allowed to marry the princess. And he did this. He married the princess, and him and the princess were happy. And the king gave him half the land. That's not bad for a day's work, is it? So, thank you very much for liking and watching this folktale. And also to be said that it's not known what happened to the magical axe or the magical shovel. Perhaps the shovel is down the road now, waiting to be found. Until the next folktale, and don't forget, folks, you can check the other two folktales I've already told of Boots, and that will be Boots who ate a match with the troll, and Boots who made the princess say. Now that's a story. You can see both of them in a card up there. So goodbye for now. Thank you for watching. Was hail and good health.